So why teach with Sketchpad? Let's listen to a little bit about that.
They see how easy it is for them just to drag one vertex and measure. When they do the animation and then the triangle moves and the measurements are being on the side and they see the constant, it's just awesome for them to do that. But in terms of developing conceptual understanding, it is different when you tell a kid, oh, the sum of the angles of a triangle is 180, when they actually manipulating a triangle and having the measurement there, they don't forget because they're not told. You just go there, measure, and then they draw their own conclusions.
The kids love it. It is motivating to them, and we know that anytime kids are motivated to learn, they remember better, they understand at a deeper conceptual level.
That is so true. And I'll again let you listen to the rest of this movie on your own time. To me, why teach with Sketchpad? Because it is the best tool to help not just kids, but anybody get it. Understand the concepts, the math, the geometry, the algebra, the topics that we're teaching them. It is so much better than just the chalk and talk method that we have used in the past. So let's talk about the how-to a little bit, because I've been using it so far, because obviously you can see you can create tabs as I have here. You can have lots of text boxes. You can have text boxes that link to things, which we've done. You see that I can link to different pages using this same kind of button. But what else is here? So let's talk about the menu first. I have a link here to a great resource about menu information where all of this is clickable and you can look up all kinds of things. So again, I'll leave you for that on your own. I just want to talk in order. So under Sketchpad itself, this is where you will set up any preferences for your operating system. So like with a Mac, this is where I tell it certain things like where I want it to file, to save my files and things like that. Under File, just like in most software, this is where you find how to save, how to print, how to open a new sketch, things like that. But two things I want to point out here that are unique to this software. One, this is where you can go to Sketchpad lesson link. That's under File, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but I just wanted to point it out here. And then also, this is where we go for document options, which I'm going to go ahead and click on this to show you what all we do here. This is where you can add new pages to your Sketchpad document, which in fact I'm going to do right now. And I'm going to show you that to relocate it, you just click and drag like I've done here. And notice it was smart enough when I drug it to position 4, it changed from a 7 to a 4. If I don't want it to call, if I don't want to name it 4, which you notice I didn't name anything, the number names, I renamed them. I'm going to just put practice because I'm going to use this to practice in just 1 second. So that again was under File, Document Options. This is also where we go to print. Okay. Under Edit, there are several things that I want to point out to you here. First and foremost, I want to show you that Sketchpad follows this very simple kind of common sense approach, which is if it's dark, then that means it's active and you can use that feature or button. It also means that you have, if you're trying to do something, measure something, construct something, whatever, if that button is dark, that means that you have selected the items that you need in order for that option to be available. If it's grayed out, for example, this item crop picture to polygon is grayed out. Well, possibly that makes sense to you because A, I don't have any pictures, and B, I don't have any polygons right here, and I certainly don't have them selected in order to tell Sketchpad to do any kind of cropping. So that's the first thing under Edit I want to mention. The other thing is action buttons are what I have used throughout this particular sketch to do things like hiding and showing stuff and linking stuff. They can also be used, as you see here, to create animation, movement, sound, scrolling, lots and lots of advanced features. And then lastly, here under Edit, your preferences are one of the first things that I tell my students about, because usually before I have them do some exploration with their sketch, I want to make sure we've all set our preferences the same way in order that our measurements are going to be the same. For example, if I'm measuring in centimeters and my students are measuring in inches, we're going to have difficulty kind of determining if we're finding the same thing, without having to convert, obviously. Or if I'm trying to measure an angle to the nearest 100,000th, that's going to be very challenging with my eye-mouse coordination. So the settings that I have here are usually the ones that I use in class. If you want to pause the screencast and just jot those down, they've worked very well for me. So you'll notice what we're doing. We're measuring the angles in degrees. Our other options are measuring in radians and something that Sketchpad calls directed degrees, which just means if we open clockwise it'll be positive and counterclockwise it'll be a negative angle. The distance measurements, of course, in either standard or metric or in pixels. And then what it means by others in terms of unit is, for example, measurements, like let's say slope. So what this is telling you in English is that by having others set to a precision of hundredths, it means when I measure something like a line, it will measure to the nearest hundredth. Whereas where I go to measure an angle measurement, it's only going to measure to the nearest degree. So in other words, it's not going to say 30.1 degrees, it's just going to say 30 degrees on the screen. This is also where you can go to tell Sketchpad whether you want to label things as you go, or meaning as you create them, which is what this would be, or as all objects are measured. And all of these are a lot of details that really the resources go into. What I tend to do for my class is just show them this preference setting, and in the beginning I just tell them, here's what I want the unit set, here's what I want the color set, here's what I want, okay? And so just as an example to that, let me go back to the Dropbox file that I mentioned a second ago and show you kind of an example of what I mean by that. So I'm going to pull up quiz number 6. And you'll see that even in this quiz, now remember, this is old, okay, actually really, really old, remember, because it's from version 4. But you'll notice that what I did even for that is I say, okay, set your preferences to this. Right, so I just give them a screenshot and then I tell them what to do, and give them the point values and whatever. So that's just an example of how I use this particular item in the menu. Under display, this is where you can do things like turn on and off the text palette, which is this little menu bar right here, to show you, for example, how to change the font. Okay, so right now you'll see I'm using Georgia. If I want to change, for example, to Arial Black, right, I just select the text box and do that. If you don't like what you just did, everybody knows undo. Okay, and so you can undo that feature. Another thing that I want to mention here under the display is this is also where you can change colors and style of some of the objects that we're going to be creating. So for example, lines and points and your text. Okay, so that's something else that's found under display. Under construct, which I'm going to get to more when I talk about the toolbox, which is over here to the side in just a second, this is where the power comes in, because just like what that person mentioned in the video, you can construct, for example, parallel lines that stay parallel. And this is the part of the menu item where you go to do that under construct. Transform refers to the rigid and non-rigid transformations, including translation, rotation, reflection, dilation, and iterations. And these are really a little bit more of an advanced topic, but one of the activities that you will see in my that old list of activities was actually doing all three of those. And you know, I was able to create an activity where the students were able to follow along, just like what that teacher said in the video. You give them a task and let the students explore. Measure is just what you might imagine. This is where you will go to calculate excuse me, any of the things that you'd be interested in, perimeter or area or radius. Coordinates for a point. Notice you can get both the coordinates or the individual abscissa and ordinate separately. Number is where our calculator lives. I'll show you that real quick. Okay, and we'll be doing some stuff with that in a second. Graph is where, as you might imagine, you would go to plot a function, show the grid, define your coordinate system, those kinds of things. You'll notice right now I don't have a graph or a coordinate set of axes showing, but this is where I would go to both turn that on and off. Window is so you can see what you have open. Right now, of course, we're in the Sketchpad 101 file. I have another file that I'll be showing you a little bit later, which is so open. And then last but not least, I want to mention that unlike a lot of software, the help button on the menu is really amazing here in Sketchpad. There is so much information, including, as you see, welcome videos, using Sketchpad Introduction Center, teaching with Sketchpad, which has a bunch of free activities that you can download, as well as the Reference Center for all of these things that I'm talking about, all the online resources, and a picture gallery for using in things like the transformations and the iterations.